Hey there, Dr. Shawn Frawley here at Beverly Hills Dentistry. Just want to take a moment to explain the importance of communication and the importance of teamwork and having a good team that's working well together, and how that impacts the final outcome of our cases. So, I mean, you see before and an after, but there's a lot in between. And one of those things is communicating with the lab. So today we have a meeting with the lab to discuss the Frankie J's case. So we've taken all our impressions, which are impressions of the teeth, the impressions of the temporaries, all our photos, all our records. So they've gotten those. I've already had one meeting with them to discuss the intricacies on a technical aspect of the case. So we're having a meeting now for Frankie to ask any questions that he may have, to convey some of the things that Frankie and I have talked about in terms of the natural characteristics of the veneers and crowns, the shade of them. When you talk about shade, it's not just one color. Teeth have a lot of different colors, from being more opaque to more translucent. So typically at the edges of the teeth they're more translucent, up by the gum line it's more opaque, and a little bit darker. So depending on what my patients want in terms of those natural characteristics, it's really, really important to just communicate those with the lab, because beyond the shape of the teeth, there's different microanatomies and translucencies and opacities that we build into teeth. That all taken into account with the overall shade, which for Frankie, he wants them very bright, but them to look somewhat natural and to not look fake. So we're gonna have this meeting. We're gonna discuss these topics. And it's also, I think it's important for my patients to meet who's making the veneers that are going into their mouth, because they're really pieces of art, one-off, custom pieces of art. So I think it's also nice to get to talk to the person who's going to be doing that and put the whole team together so that everything happens the way we want them to. I hope everybody's well. And I hope this is helpful to see how we do things. All right, take care.
Doing your case, so we spoke last Friday about just the technical, aspects of the case, and so we went through that. And then we're talking about the shade. I relayed our discussion, and we're discussing about wider. Technically, the wider we go, that we lose a little bit of the characterization. And so we wanted to review that. If you had any questions for Roger, we kind of came to is we're gonna go with the whitest kind of base color, and then try to build in as much as we can with as much room as we have, some characterization, some translucency, some vibrance kind of to the edges. So I don't know if you had any thoughts since we spoke last. And we also discussed about the front four are crowns, and then we have veneers going back. So the crowns are a lot thicker, the veneers are thinner. So we can, with the crowns, we do have more space to be able to build in the characterization. But what were you still feeling about the shade and based on our last conversation?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah,
Shawn?
yeah. Well, any
I feel well after leaving, there from you guys, coming back home. I kind of still stand on the same,
yeah,
feeling of having the whitest, going with the whitest.
yeah.
It seems like it was a request from the wife, so she's all out, go all out, out, So I was like, okay. So yeah, I'm sticking to the whitest shade, which I believe was BL1 or something like that.
Correct. Correct. BL1, and then within BL1, like the most saturated version of that. Are you still okay with us building in some translucency, a little bit, probably more than I did with Jonathan?
Translucency, as far as like the teeth, making it more like
at the edges, yeah. So it's not just one color.
Yeah, that would actually be great, because that would kind of give it more of a natural, right? More of a natural look. So yeah, whatever. I feel like whatever's gonna look more natural on me, because you know, I think it'd be a great look, especially because of the cameras.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was speaking with Larry about his shade, and he brought up a good point that the way things look on camera versus just in life is a different consideration. So I do think on camera it needs to be kind of even on the brighter end of the spectrum to have that appearance that it's nice and white versus in person. If that's the main consideration, you go a little bit more, a little more natural versus more white.
I agree.
I
definitely agree. So yeah, that would probably be the best way.
Okay. Good. Did you have any? I think it's also pretty cool to meet the person who's making the artwork that's going into your mouth. So
yeah.
If there's any questions for Roger or Roger vice versa, I know we talked about the case, but
I did have one question. Remember you were mentioning to me, Shawn, about the certain things that are designed into the teeth to make it look natural. I guess it's like creases or something.
Yeah, kind of like the surface texture and kind of the microanatomy, the way light reflects.
Is that what they would be doing to the crowns and the other veneers and stuff on the teeth?
Yes, and that's what we like to do. And it's that's the difference when you look at veneers and crowns where they look flat. The light hits it, but it doesn't reflect in a way that really makes it pop. That's the difference. So we do want to build that in, and Roger, we discussed that, building in some texture and some of the tertiary anatomy.
Actually, we didn't touch on surface texture. We were more talking about like what I can do internally to make them more translucent and natural from that aspect. Surface texture is really important. You don't want, like you said, just a really flat.
Roger, we gotta get closer to the mic.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There you are.
Okay. Yeah. But what we were touching on was if you make them too flat and smooth and without any surface texture or anatomy, you don't get any of that like refractory capabilities. I like to put it in a kind of like a more simple man's term. When you do a nice surface texture, they just sparkle. When you smile, you're seeing, the refractory happen. It just basically sparkles. It's really nice.
Right.
So that's something we can definitely do. And I enjoy doing that. In every case I do, I like surface texture.
It's like creating art to the teeth at the same time, right?
What's that?
It's like creating art.
Oh yeah, that's art. Yeah, we're trying to make them as natural as possible. The white, these things can still be really, really natural looking, even if they're super white. I mean, I just remember doing some cases. There's this one picture in my mind of this one patient I did years ago, and I put so much surface texture. And it's this big blown up picture that I have in my house that
oh wow,
I love looking at it. Yeah, it's just because there's just so much going on. It's super magnified, but So yeah, we like making them look real. No.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Yeah, I definitely want the real, the natural look because, I do tend to do a lot of photo shoots and then we do a lot of
Sure.
music videos and then obviously for television purposes, it's always important, to have that natural smile. Even, because when I tend to smile, the majority like of the time you see the top teeth. So they're gonna be out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It brings in achieving that goal where we started by doing the smile design and making the temporaries as spot on as to what the permits are going to be helps guide Roger. So the fact that things aren't just straight across, just in the lengths in the edge position, how we've set that up, that's kind of like the first step, and then what Roger's going to do with the surface texture and the anatomy. That's kind of like the very small details that you don't always notice when something just is beautiful and works. Those are the things that you nail, but no one really know those things. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. The way that the Jonathan's were done, they were just plain, all completely, white, but more thicker, right? Or was it no natural look to it, or was there any natural look to it?
There was some, but not as much as.
Not as dull.
Yeah.
Right. Natural look for me would be great. Yeah.
And then I'll have another meeting with Roger where we take a look at the case as it's in its before it's finalized, and then we can also show you that. But
okay, that's perfect. Sounds good.
All right.
We need to on our end is get the model of the stamps. They're still not in the case, man. So we don't have the models yet. So I think that's James. Barber is getting it all, getting the digital information and producing that.
Okay,
yeah, he might actually do it today. I'm just anxious to see the temps. I'm really anxious to see the temps.
They look good in his mouth. Although we've had
I know. I'm looking at
keeping them on because of the Invisalign attachment.
I've already gotten a few compliments. Everybody's like super wowing, my smile. They're like, wow, you look so.
They look really good. They're temporaries, but they look awesome. They look really good.
An amazing job. So when I walk,
exactly,
the whole day. So yeah, I can't wait to put the real ones. How long does it usually take to get all that sorted out?
Yeah, it's like a 2-week thing with all the other work in the lab, but.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think we got the due date is somewhere in the beginning of July. That's
yeah. So I will confirm.
Yeah.
Gentlemen. Thanks, everybody jumping on. This is really good. Excited.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Bye.